Thank you. Some very lucky workers there. Tomorrow, Tampa's incoming police chief is scheduled to appear before Tampa City Council to start the confirmation process as the city's next top cop.
Well, since the mayor announced Mary O'Connor as her pick for the role last month, there's been some controversy swirling around O'Connor, her past, and if she's the right person for the job. ABC Action News reporter Mary O'Connell is taking this story in depth for us tonight and joins us in the studio.
And Mary, you've been sorting through public records, hearing from all sides here. What have you learned?
Well, many people in the community have been vocal since Castor named Mary O'Connor as the new police chief last month. And over the past few days, I've pored over records, heard from local organizations, the city, and TPD about O'Connor and how some want the city to move forward amid the controversy on who should lead Tampa Police.
In February, Mayor Jane Castor announced her pick for Tampa's top cop.
In the final analysis, it is Mary O'Connor who stood out.
Mary O'Connor. She served the Tampa Police Department for more than 2 decades, rising to the rank of assistant chief before retiring in 2016. Since then, the city says she spent time traveling the country, teaching and providing subject matter expertise and training to law enforcement and criminal justice executives, also serving as a consultant to the U.S. DOJ and the FBI.
I am honored and humbled to stand before you as Tampa's newest police chief. I believe in this community and in this department, and together we can do great things.
During a press conference last month, Mayor Castor appeared confident in a clear path forward.
The mayor appoints the chief of police, but that confirmation, we get confirmation from council, which we don't expect any issues there.
But since then, some people in our community have voiced concerns over the process behind the pick and the pick herself. I spent some time at Tampa Police headquarters, sorting through Mary O'Connor's personnel file. In it, a notice of disciplinary action. It describes an incident in 1995 during a traffic stop where O'Connor, then Mary Minter, was the passenger. The report says during the investigation, quote, "You became loud and argumentative with the on-scene deputy," stating, quote, "Your behavior regressed to the point where the deputies had to restrain you and place you into the back seat of their marked unit. While in the police car," the report states, quote, "You began kicking the windows," later saying, quote, "You became abusive towards the deputy and struck him on the chest with your fist." The notice states deputies subsequently arrested her for battery on a law enforcement officer, disorderly intoxication, and interfering with a law enforcement officer. A file from the following year indicates she was to be reinstated after originally being dismissed. Documents show a judge later signed off on a court order to seal her records. The city told me in a statement, Mayor Castor was aware that Mary O'Connor made a mistake nearly 3 decades ago, learned from it, grew from it, and rose through the ranks to become an outstanding leader of the Tampa Police Department. During her selection announcement, O'Connor briefly touched on her past when asked about officers with disciplinary problems and second chances.
I believe in second chances wholeheartedly, as you pointed out. But I also believe that discipline needs to be given in a fair and impartial manner. So I think that just like the chance that was given to me 28 years ago to evaluate every aspect of my own case, I look forward to doing that with the men and women of this department as well.
The field for Tampa's police chief was ultimately narrowed down to 3 finalists, including then interim chief Ruben Delgado. Last month, the Tampa Police Benevolent Association expressed their disappointment Delgado wasn't chosen, while still congratulating O'Connor. I spoke with Tampa PBA spokesperson Danny Alvarez about it all this week.
You know, once we had our opinion known and we understand that the mayor went in her direction, we've been very supportive of her, and we know that if Chief O'Connor gets selected, which we think she will, we wish her the best and we're ready to support her.
The controversy surrounding the incoming chief came up at a city council meeting last month. Council members saying they'd been flooded with feedback.
I received a ton of communication from the community, from people that I never expected would would contact me. And all but one were against the said nominee.
I've gotten way more calls on this, except for anything other than toilet to tap.
Constituents are calling. They're unhappy. They're saying there was no transparency in the selection.
Council members questioned what happens if they don't vote to confirm. I reached out to the city about the selection process for the chief. The city told me the mayor relied on her vast network of law enforcement leaders and experts to look at the potential candidates across the country, narrowing the list down to 3 finalists. The city says she held live-streamed public forum for the community to meet the finalists, spoke at length to each, and ultimately decided on O'Connor.
We are always advocating for a second chance, and so we definitely understand that. But dealing with this office here, we get so many complaints with even kids that's in the school, high school, and if they brush up against a police officer, it's called battery on a police officer. It didn't look right with the African American community.
I sat down with Yvette Lewis, the president of the NAACP Hillsborough County branch. Lewis explained to me their various concerns with O'Connor as chief, including her past record. Lewis also thinks there were problems with the process.
I think it's just time for us to just say, we want to start all over and do it again.
So you'd prefer her not to go through with confirmation on Thursday and just the city start over with the search for police chief?
Yeah, give the taxpayers what we paid for. We didn't pay for this. Didn't pay for it.
I reached out to TPD for an interview with O'Connor. They sent me this statement that reads in part, Chief Mary O'Connor is excited to lead the Tampa Police Department into the future and has already connected with community leaders to discuss her vision on how she plans to move the department forward.
And city leaders tell me O'Connor has met and spoken with organizations and groups in the community and consulted with city council members in the past few weeks. The plan is now to formally submit O'Connor's appointment to city council members tomorrow. And we will be there bringing you the latest of what comes out of city council on air and online on abcactionnews.com.
Thank you, Mary. A lot to follow. And we also need to note here, Mayor Jane Castor was previously the Tampa Police Chief. She served in that position from 2009 to 2015, left that job 7 years ago. Then Eric Ward became the Chief of Police from 2015 to 2017, followed by Brian Dugan, who retired from the position in September.